Alright, we're going to go over how I make holsters in-house in our shop, basically. And there's a few things that I have here to make the holsters. So I have actually my two sheets here that separate the Kydex and the t-shirt press. So I have the Kydex piece here and the t-shirt press. And the Kydex I use 8x12. A lot of guys will cut it down a lot smaller, but for me it's just easier. Pre-buy 8x12s. The guys that we buy them from, the supply house, they cut them at 8x12. I get them in these sheets and I can just stack them. And I do have a lot of cutoff, however, that makes it easier, me having to line it perfect and all that stuff. So it just makes it go a little faster because I am a smaller setup. I don't have all of the crazy tools that make a lot of stuff easier, the manufacturing tools. All this is basically done by hand. We have the t-shirt press here. This makes it a lot easier. I know a lot of you guys heat in ovens. I know a lot of guys that heat it with heat guns. But this is easier. I have the t-shirt press set on 315 degrees, and now I'm going to heat that at 2 minutes. So that's our trick, 315 degrees, at least on this press. Now I know all the presses are a little bit different, so you might have to play with that. I ran this one at 325 degrees for a while. But then it started getting too hot, so I went to 315. And of course, this has been used quite a bit. In fact, this has been used so much, my switch went out on the side. So I actually wired it in here, and then I wired it to an external switch, which makes it easier as well. I don't have to reach over here, I can just hit it right here. So it's 315 degrees, and we're going to do that for 2 minutes. We have the holster mold already prepped and ready. Now most of our holster molds, unless it's for a light combination, we have to prep them to make the light combination. But our holster molds, we get a basic mold in. So I just bought a lot of used molds actually. So you can see some of them right here. There's some back here. This one has not been prepped, so this is just your standard mold. I will actually have to machine on this. I have a small little milling machine. I will machine out, I will add parts to it to make this work for us, because I do use what they call a taco press. I actually love the taco presses. It works really, really well for making the holsters. And you can see it's been used for quite a while. This is my second or third set of foam. I can't remember, but we tape them back so they're not flopping around, so we put them in here. It makes it a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is show you our making process, not only here, but I'm going to show you the whole way through. And we're going to put this in the t-shirt press. And we're going to hit the go. So that's going to go for 2 minutes. If you notice, I'm wearing a stocking hat. We do have heat out here in the shop. Right now I've cut it off because you don't want the sound messing up the video, and as well, I only heat it up to about 55 degrees out here unless I'm doing classes or training, and then I'll get it a little bit warmer. But for us just working out here, I don't heat it that much. When we get an order in, I have the little cards that I write what they are. So this is the Taurus G3 Tactical. It's right hand in the waistband setup, and then it has optic cut and threaded barrel. So I write that up. I'm not going to show you the order page because it has names and all that stuff, but when we get orders in the morning, we print out a pick sheet basically, or a build sheet, and then I write that up and put it for my build, and then I just follow that as I go because that makes it easier for me to make it. But this is almost ready. We'll show you how we do this. It's going to be, take it off. You have about a minute to work with your flexible Kydex here. So we're going to put this in. I have this little piece down here to keep it nice and straight. Just eyeballing it, get it nice and straight. Take your holster mold. Going to push it to kind of seat it. Take your clamp. Now we're going to take it, we're going to push down on it. As we clamp it, you want to push down on it so the channel for the sights is nice and square. And you get to learn, usually it's about 10 squeezes. You get to learn the tightness over time. But you also have to wear gloves, so I buy these little cheap Hardy gloves. I get these from Harbor Freight. These work really well. Plus for the building as well, I use Hardy gloves. So these are the slicker ones. Here they seem to do a little bit better with heat for whatever reason. And then these are the more aggressive. They have kind of like almost a sandpaper feel. so they do that. Now what we do is we wait for long enough for this to cool off, and then what I'm going to do is I'll shut the video down, let it cool for a few minutes, and then I'm going to show you how we lay it out. I'm going to show you how we cut it, and then how we sand it, and then we're going to put holes in it. We're going to just go through the whole process. I want to show you guys how we make this stuff. So we'll be back in just a second.
And let the one who has no sword sell his cloak and buy one.
Alright, it's had enough time to dry, so we're going to take it out. Hang this up. Pull the Kydex off the mold, so you see this is molded, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back where it goes in its little cubby hole. So if you see these little cubbies right here, it goes something similar, just the paper organizers. We have them labeled and all that. But I'm going to put this back, and then we're going to go over to the workbench, and then we're going to show you how to lay it out. Stay tuned. Alright, so we bring it over here to my workstation here, and this is where I lay out and I actually build the holster. So we're going to take our pen or our pencil. This is a water erasable pencil, and it comes off really well. So what I wipe this off with is alcohol. It's 91% alcohol. However, I also add just a little bit of acetone to make this a little hotter, and it works really, really well. You have to work with it to get it right, but once you figure it out, it's not too bad. So this is a standard holster. There's no light attachments, so we take this one to lay it out. And I'm going to put my thumb here to make sure we got enough room to get our hand up in there. The bigger holsters, or the bigger guns, this isn't a big deal. However, the smaller guns, they got the shorter barrels. I have to make sure that they have at least a pressed down thumb in between, so you can get your fingers in here, because if not, you won't be able to get your fingers in. So I just always hold my thumb. Then I start laying out around the belt wing. And now this one's a compact cut, so it tells me what it is. It has an optic and threaded barrel, so with a compact cut, not a big deal. With a standard holster, we just chop off the front, basically. So we're going to lay it out. And this is just rough layouts. And then we have the optic here on the Taurus G3 Tactical. We have it marked out on our gun here. So we just mark a little notch. And with these guns, with it cut out here basically, what we're going to do is we're going to chop it right above that, and then come in. With all the guns being different, I always double check to see what's on the other side, see what I'm cutting out. And then you get it so close, and then we're going to basically ramp up. Because we want that angle cut, so that way we know that if you bump or hit and your gun moves up, because they will, it doesn't hit the glass on your optic. Alright, so now we've got it laid out. Now we're going to go out here and cut it. We'll rough cut it, and then what we're going to do is we'll finish it out. Alright, so come on, let's go back here. Alright, so we bring it over here to the Harbor Freight special scroll saw. However, I've had this scroll saw for probably better than 10 years, and it's still going good. The biggest thing is just make sure you keep the blade changed nice and sharp, and it does really well. There's a couple settings for different holster types and different materials that you have to learn on here. But basically, we're wide open for the Kydex holsters. We just cut it on and we rough cut it. Alright, so with cutting that, you really have to pay attention to what you're doing down here at the trigger part, and then you have to pay attention up here at the optic cut. Outside of that, most of the rest of it, we just rough cut around pretty quick, not a big deal. But now we're going to go over here to the big grinder, and then we're going to rough grind, and then we're going to smooth it out, and we'll show you that too. Alright, so come on. Alright, so we bring it over here to our grinder. This is a Porter cable. This is actually a decent grinder. I had it a while. Big box store, I think, is where I got it from. But this is where we rough grind it. So we're going to rough grind it, and then we'll come over to our more polishing wheels. They're sanding discs, but they'll polish it up a little bit better and smooth those edges out. Alright, so we're going to flip the shield down, and then we're going to blow it off. Now all I do is I just peel the little excess material that was left over off. Sometimes I have to take my knife and trim a little off. Alright, so now what we do is we go over to the sanding wheels, and we'll give us a nice polish to it. So come on over here. Alright, so here's the sanding wheels. I actually have several. So I've got, this is our medium grit. This is the one that I typically use. We have a rough grit back here. Every once in a while we have to get aggressive with it. And then this is for different things. And then this is our low grit. I don't use this a whole lot. I typically just stick on this medium wheel. I've used a lot. In fact, I just changed this one out. And yes, all of this gets sand all over it, or dust. One of the reasons I wear my shield, try to help that. And typically I also have a exhaust going in here, but it's too loud with the camera recording. So we're going to sand this up. We're going to go from there. Alright, so now we start checking the trigger guard. And I'm going to make sure that it's cut out enough for the trigger guard, and that one's plenty. I'll actually pull my glove off, go in, make sure it's not hurting me or cutting me or anything like that. Down in here, it's nice and smooth. I'll pull pretty aggressively against it, against my finger to make sure there's no burrs or anything like that. Now we'll start working on the optic. Now we just feel for it. We feel for burrs and stuff. We check it out, make sure everything looks right. Then we're going to stick this back in. That's good. Looks good. With this one, with the compact cut, we want to make sure that there's enough room for a micro comp. Not just a threaded barrel, because this is for the G3 Tactical, but not just a threaded barrel, which is plenty of room. We also want to look at it and make sure that that micro comp can stick out the front, and there's plenty of room there. So we're good there. We want to make sure there's nothing that's catching my glove. We don't want it catching your clothing, right? Make sure everything feels right. All right, good deal. That one feels good. So basically what I'm going to do is we're going to walk over here. I'm going to blow this off, and then we're going to go lay everything out and make this a holster. All right, so come on. All right, so we're over here to blow it off. And all I do is take compressed air, because it does get really, really bumpy. So we take the compressed air. I also bring this is what we would call a fitment mold. So I blow it off as well. And now we're going to go out here, we're going to lay this thing out, we're going to turn it into a holster. Alright, so now we bring it over here to our table, and we're going to lay it out. So the first thing that I do is I'm going to lay it out for the wing. Which is real simple. You just get these little transfer punches and transfer it through the way that I like to lay them out. Our holsters are made a lot different than a lot of other holsters for sure. You have to remember we make one holster, one type of holster that's ambidextrous inside and outside the waistband. So we lay them out a little bit different. But now that is laid out, we're going to go over here and we're going to drill 3 holes, and then we're going to come back here and we're going to lay out the rest and drill some more holes. Alright, so come on over here with us. Alright, so we come over here to my vise that I've got set up for this. I have 2 different blocks, so I have this block, and then this one is for light laser combos, so I don't need that one. I need the basic, the standard one, and then I just slip it in here. I clamp it down. Now you're probably not going to be able to see much of me drilling, Actually, let me move this camera around, and maybe you can. You may be able to see a little bit there, so we'll move the camera there. And one of the things that I use a brad point drill bit, because you get that little point right there in your mark, and it goes right in. I also use a little spacer to help me keep the holster spaced apart here, and then we just drill. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to go back over to the workstation, and we're going to finish this thing out. So come on over here. Alright, so back over here at the workbench. The first thing I'm going to do is deburr these holes that I just drilled in. So we have a little deburring tool on a very old rigid, but it works very well. We're just going to and then we're going to take our deburring hand tool, we're going to deburr the inside as well. If I'm talking a little loud, I have earplugs in. Alright, now we lay it out for the, basically this was laid out for the belt wing here, and then we're going to lay out for the belt clips here. And we have two because it is ambidextrous. We set everything up, make sure everything's lined up good. I have my little layout tool here. It's a little jig that I made up. It's got all the marks. And then what I do is I will flip it around to make sure that's square. Again, I'll flip it around, make sure everything looks good. That there, and then we pull back our other layout tool here, but this is also a drill tool. If you can see where it pops, when I drill through, I don't want it hitting the inside of the holster, so we're going to sit it here. Again, I'm going to put the drill on slow for this one. I can control it a little bit better, and then I'm going to start drilling through. Using that brad point, I can start to press down right where it needs to be. And between the brad point and going slow, it doesn't just walk around on you. And going slow, what happens is if you're going fast and you hit that plate, sometimes it'll jerk and it'll make the holes oblong, and we don't want that either. And basically every time you see me do that, it gets a little burr. The little plastic piece usually sticks on the tip of the brad point, so I want to get that out of the way so I got a fresh tip when I start drilling. right, now we're going to deburr. That's all it takes for the outside. We're going to do the same thing with the inside deburr. And for any of you guys that do make holsters or whatever, one of the things I want to show y'all is I know from the holster companies, and I've got a couple of these that I've went through, you buy these little deburring tools. They look like this. I found some others, which they sell these at Harbor Freight too, but I found these type at Harbor Freight, and they seem to work a lot better for me. So if you do use the other type, something to check out. They're, of course, cheaper at Harbor Freight. Sometimes when you're drilling, you get some pretty good burrs in there, so to make it skip around, you gotta clean it real good. And then I check it. Looks pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our little solution here. And we're going to, the solution will definitely get all of the white marker off. But then we're going to actually clean the rest of the outside of the holster. And after I've cleaned the outside of the holster, I'm going to take it and I'm going to blow it off. So basically the outside, we blow it dry with the outside. But then I also blow the inside off as well. Alright, so now we're going to start building this thing. It's a right hand inside the waistband. It does not say, he did not order, or she, I'm not sure who ordered this one, did not order appendix, so we're just going to put the one on with no risers on it. We'll send the risers in the package with it, of course. You also get that. We put the two belt clips on. And then we're just going to start assembling all the hardware. And to swap it over, once you get used to it, it's going to take you about a minute to swap it. It doesn't take too long to swap all this stuff over. Once you learn the tricks of how to hold all the nuts and bolts and screws and everything else. Let me get this out of your way. Maybe. Oh, come on. Stay. Please, or don't. It's funny, ain't it? Alright, there we go. Alright, that's out of your way. Maybe you can see now. And when you're putting it back together, it's always easier to put the clip without the wing back on first. Because you put the wing back on, you've got to struggle getting your hand up in there. But if you put the clip on first, It's just easier to maneuver. I always start it with just a hand screwdriver, as Philip said, and then I finish it with a little Bauer handheld. Works really good for our application. And now we're just seating all the hardware. We have videos on how to do all this. Once you order the holster, you're going to get the card, and on the back of the card it has a video showing you how to take all this stuff off and how to put it back on. So to make it a little easier for you. You don't have to be too mechanically inclined to do it. It's not too hard. And now when you're putting this part back on, what I want to do is set my clip on top of the wing. I'm going to grab my screw. I'm going to lightly start it. You see how this is flopping and moving around because these two don't exactly match. We don't make the hardware, we just have made it work, and it works really well for this application. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw it in until it just starts to click, or you can feel it get tight or hear it get tight. I'm going to make sure everything works, going to make sure everything is seated below where it needs to be. Now, since this one has an optic cut, I'm going to grab my gun with an optic on it, and we're going to make sure it works. Yes, sir. So we've got enough right here. We've got the same amount cut out there. It fits nice and flush. The optic has plenty of room here, which is what we want, just in case you bend down or something and it starts to bend up. Because if you put a lot of pressure, it's going to bend a little bit. Got a good hold. I'm going to tighten it a little bit more. I don't want to tighten it too much because this guy's in the waistband. It's going to snug down more anyway. So he's not going to want it super tight. Good draw. It's not just falling out. That's what we want. And we want to make sure that it's nice and cut out here. Nothing's catching my fingers there. Good deal. So that's how we make our holsters. That's how we check them. So if you want to know, we are old school with making the holsters. We still do all this by hand. I know a lot of these guys have went to different presses and a little more automation and stuff like that. We have not at this point in time. So this is how we make our holsters. All right, so I'm going to pack this one up. Take our little baggie. Take the build sheet basically. Now the build sheet has all the stuff on the back. When you get this in, it's got a link that you can type in and you can log into, and it tells you how to swap all that over. It tells you a little bit about the holster, how to tighten stuff down. Got a couple of cards I'm going to put in here. Then I'm going to put the holster. The hardware down in the holster. I actually sit it down inside the holster. So this is how we bag it up. This is how it's going to get shipped out. Now all I have to do now is throw it in a flat rate padded envelope. It's already pre-labeled and stuff. So I'm not going to show you that because it has the customer's name on it and all that. But yeah guys, that's how we make them. Spencer with Holsters by Defense Training. Stay safe, stay armed.
Hey guys, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you don't mind, and share it if you would. This really helps out with the YouTube algorithm. Also, we offer different styles of training. So we offer concealed weapons classes here in Anderson, South Carolina. Also, we offer advanced training, and we offer church safety team training. So you can go check all that out at defensetraining.org. And then, of course, we make holsters. We have our online holster store, so if you go check that out, and that's holstersbydefensetraining.com, and all these links are below. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.